Let's talk about momentum. That feeling of making real progress. We're going to dive into a simple, subtle shift that can be the difference between spinning your wheels and hitting some serious growth. We're going to figure out why, so often, our biggest efforts just feel like they're going nowhere.
So, does this feel familiar? You launch something new, you put in all the work, but the results, they just kind of trickle in. You feel like you're moving, but everything just seems to be stuck in slow motion. It is an incredibly frustrating place to be. And it turns out, there's usually one single hidden reason behind it all.
All right, let's pull back the curtain on this problem. I like to call this the slow growth trap. And right now, we're going to uncover that one hidden reason your progress just keeps stalling out.
And here it is. It's really that simple. The core of the problem is slow feedback. I mean, think about it. When you make a big change and then you have to wait for weeks or even months to see if it actually worked, your ability to learn just grinds to a total halt. You're basically flying blind for long stretches of time, and that is the fastest way to lose every bit of momentum you have.
Okay, so if the problem is slow feedback, the answer seems kind of obvious, right? We need fast feedback. And that brings us to the solution, which is incredibly powerful, the short loop. This is the simple shift that can totally accelerate your learning curve.
So what exactly is a short feedback loop? Well, it's a process where instead of launching these huge, massive projects, you test your ideas in really small, manageable batches. This lets you see what's working and what isn't almost right away, so you can adapt quickly and just keep refining. It's all about being nimble, not monumental.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. I mean, look at the left. That's the old way. You launch a major change, you wait forever, and then you see what happened. It's super high stakes, and you only find out if you were right at the very end. But now look at the right, the new way. You test a tiny little adjustment, you watch the results come in, and you refine continuously. It becomes this constant cycle of low-risk, high-learning experiments.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually, do it? That brings us to the mechanics. Let's break down how these small tests actually work and create that continuous improvement we're looking for.
It really just boils down to these 3 simple steps. First, you test in small batches. Seriously, think about changing the text on a single button, not redesigning the whole website. Second, you observe real behavior. Don't guess. Watch what your users actually do. Are they clicking more? Do they stay on the page longer? And third, you adapt and refine. Take that tiny piece of information and use it to inform your very next move. That's the loop. And when you do this, the whole culture starts to shift. Learning stops being this big, scary event you do once a quarter. Instead, it just becomes a normal, ongoing part of your daily operations. Every single day is a new chance to learn something and get just a little bit better.
So what's the real payoff here? Why is this such a game changer? Let's get into the impact this has not just for your business, but just as important, for your customers.
The benefits are huge, and what's cool is they all build on each other. First, it absolutely reduces the fear of trying new things. Second, it creates a customer experience that is constantly getting better. Third, all those small wins build real, consistent momentum. And finally, all of that leads directly to what we're all after: faster growth. Let's just touch on a couple of these.
So, let's dig into that first point about fear. When a test is small, the risk is tiny. It feels manageable, not terrifying. And that psychological shift is everything. It makes teams so much more willing to try new, creative stuff. Innovation actually starts to happen because failure isn't some big catastrophe. It's just a little data point you can learn from.
And from the customer's point of view, the benefit is massive. The product or service they're using is no longer this static thing. It's alive, it's constantly evolving and improving, and it's being shaped directly by their own actions. You're not just guessing what they want anymore. You're letting their behavior guide you to a better experience.
So here's the bottom line. It all connects. This whole process, these small tests, the quick observation, the constant refining, it creates this powerful engine for your business. And that engine has one key output: faster learning, which directly, and I mean directly, translates into faster growth.
All right, enough theory. Let's make this real. How do you go from just listening to me talk about this to actually doing it? Let's talk about your very first small test and a super simple way you can get started, like today.
Honestly, the best advice is to start incredibly simple. Don't overthink this. Just commit to this one idea. Introduce one small test each week and review the result quickly to maintain momentum. That's it, one per week. That is how you start building the habit and, pretty soon, seeing the results.
So I'll just leave you with this one question. It could be as simple as changing a headline on your website, tweaking an email subject line, or adjusting a price by just a tiny little bit. It does not have to be big to be powerful. The only question is, what's the first small test you'll run?